Yes, we're here. Hi, can you promote Dr. Escorza to a panelist so we can check his video, please?
Yes, he's been promoted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, this is a sound check. Dr. Scorza, can you hear me? Dr. Scorza, can you hear me? This is a sound check for Salwyn Hollins. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to promote you to a panelist so we can test your video.
Okay,
And okay, you are now promoted as a panelist. I see you. Thank you.
All right.
I will move you back to an attendee, and when it's your time to address the board, I will promote you back.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
The audio check for Dr. Scorza.
Hi, Dr. Scorza. I can hear you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the LA County Board of Supervisors. Today is Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. We are happy and hopeful to announce that the county is continuing to move in the right direction with regard to our COVID-19 numbers. As such, you'll notice that today, the supervisors, we have returned to the boardroom for the first time in 2 years. For now, it will just be the members of the board who will be in the boardroom, as we will continue to social distance to ensure appropriate safety measures are in place, but we hope to bring the public and full county staff back as soon as well. We'll now take roll to confirm attendance. I'll begin with Supervisor Solis.
Here.
Supervisor Kuehl.
Here.
Supervisor Hahn.
I'm here.
Supervisor Barger.
Here.
Thesia Davenport, Chief Executive Officer.
Present.
Don Harrison, Acting County Counsel.
Present.
Celia Zavala, Executive Officer of the board. Excuse me. Supervisor Hahn, will you do us the pleasure by leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. Please stand. Hand over your heart. Join with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Someday.
Thank you. As indicated on the posted agenda, we'll be taking telephonic public comments during today's meeting. The Executive Office of the Board received over 1,000 written public comments for today's meeting, and as those written comments were received, all of them were available to the supervisors for their consideration, consistent with Brown Act requirements. We'll continue to receive written public comments throughout the meeting, which will become part of the official record. Executive Officer, please call the agenda.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Today's agenda will begin on page 2, Set Matters. Set Matter 1 is a report by the Chief Executive Officer and appropriate department heads as necessary on the status of the American Rescue Plan funding and considerations of necessary action. Set Matter 2 is a discussion and consideration of necessary actions on the public health order related to COVID-19 and a status of the COVID-19 vaccine. These items will be held for discussion. On page 3, Consent Calendar, Board of Supervisors, items 3 through 36. On item 3, this includes an addition as indicated on the supplemental agenda. Also, Supervisor Kuehl requests that appointments for Michelle Rofolinsky and Daniel Busiano be referred back to her office. On item 4, Supervisor Kuehl requests that this item be held. On item 6, Supervisor Hahn requests that this item be held. Also, this includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 7, Supervisor Hahn requests that this item be held. On item 8, this includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 9, this includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. Also, Supervisor Hahn would like to request her motion to remove Directive Number 2. On item 16, this includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 19, this includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On items 21 and 23, Supervisor Solis requests that these items be held. On item 26, Supervisor Mitchell requests that this item be continued 2 weeks to April 19, 2022. This item relates to item 66. On item 28, Supervisor Barger would like her vote to be recorded as no. On item 29, Supervisor Mitchell requests that this item be continued 2 weeks to April 19, 2022. Also, this includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 30, this includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. Also, Supervisor Mitchell and Kuehl would like to revise their motion to update Directive 2B from the Climate Resilient Office to the Climate Resilient Initiative. On item 32, Supervisor Mitchell requests that this item be continued 2 weeks to April 19, 2022. On item 36, Supervisor Barger would like her vote to be recorded as no. On page 28, Administrative Matters, items 37 through 75. On item 39, the Acton County Council requests that this item be continued to May 17, 2022, as indicated on the posted agenda. On item 45, this includes a revision as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 54, Supervisor Hahn would like to abstain from the vote. On item 63, Supervisor Kuehl requests that this item be held. On item 64, Supervisor Solis requests that this item be held. On item 66, Supervisor Mitchell requests that this item be continued 2 weeks to April 19, 2022. On item 68, Supervisor Barger would like her vote to be recorded as no. On item 70, Supervisor Barger requests that this item be continued 2 weeks to April 19, 2022. On page 51, this includes miscellaneous additions to the agenda which were posted more than 72 hours in advance of the meeting as indicated on the supplemental agenda. On item 73B, Supervisor Mitchell requests that this item be held. On item 73C, Supervisor Solis and Supervisor Kuehl and Supervisor Mitchell would like their vote to be recorded as no. On page 52, Ordinance for Introductions 76 and 77. On item 77, Supervisor Barger would like her vote to be recorded as no. On page 54, Separate Matters. On item 78 is a recommendation to adopt a resolution accepting the unanimous consents and approvals of property owners to annex certain properties as an improvement area number 2, authorizing the levy of special tax and incurring of bond indebtedness therein. On page 55, public hearings, items 79 and 80. These items will be held for discussion. On page 56, special districts. This is the agenda for the Los Angeles County Development Authority. On page 61, this is the agenda for the Regional Park and Open Space District. The request for continuances through 1P are before you.
Thank you very much. Moved by Supervisor Kuehl, seconded by Supervisor Barger to approve these items. Such will be the order.
On page 62, notices of closed session. Item CS2 is an addition as indicated on the supplemental agenda. That completes the reading of the agenda, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, before we proceed to public comment, the Board of Supervisors would like to acknowledge the retirement of some very special individuals. First, Rod Castro Silva, County Counsel, Victor Villarreal, Sergeant of Arms, and Ginger Pryor, Acting Director of DCFS. The Board appreciates all of your hard work and dedication to the County of Los Angeles. We congratulate you on your retirement and wish you the best in all your endeavors.
Thank you very much. Are there any members who would like to make comment? We'll start with Supervisor Solis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To all our retirees, I want to thank them for their service. And I'd like to point out Rod Castro's diligent work for the last few years here on the board. He really helped us in so many tremendous challenges that we have. And I really felt that he was a good, solid individual helping us out to get through some really tough times and was always open to all of us. So I personally want to thank him. And I also want to thank Victor, our personal protection, public safety. God bless him. He's a wonderful man, and I hope he enjoys the rest of his retirement with his family. I know he had a big celebration in the city of Chino. Well, he's a remarkable individual, and my husband and I both send our very best to him. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Hahn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, to our retirees, to Ginger, to Rod, and to Victor, we thank you for your service. Ginger, I'm thinking, wanted to retire. In fact, maybe she had already packed her bags. And she answered the call to come back. And I think that speaks volumes about her loyalty to the county family. And it was our time of need, and she stepped up, and I really wanted to thank her for that. Victor, yes, I just remember when I first was elected, in 2016, I didn't know a lot about anything here in the county, particularly in the boardroom, and having Victor really just watch out for me. I think a couple times I needed his help when we went to a big event, and he was there to make sure that things went smoothly. And he really was a charming protector. So thank you, Victor, for your service, and we wish you all the best. To Rod, again, another one who had stepped up previously in some other vacancies and was willing to step in and do the job. And I think, Rod, you know, beyond your scope of work as being the county counsel for the Board of Supervisors, really for the whole county of Los Angeles, I mean, I think there were some times we probably made your job a little more difficult. I know personally I can say that about myself. I think the first one was when I said, you know, we have to fight USC to get back the name of the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. And it had already been done, signed into, you know, into the universe, and you helped me fight that fight. And it was one of the more satisfying fights I think I've ever been involved in. And again, you were so optimistic and so positive and said, absolutely, if this is what you want, I'm going to help you. And the other big issue, I think I'll never forget, we were in the room and we had begun to understand what had happened at Bruce's Beach and how that property was now owned by the County of Los Angeles. And you said, Supervisor, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to give it back. Is that even possible? And Rod, you said, it's never been done, but if that's what you want to do, Supervisor Hahn, we will work to make that happen. And again, another one of those things that you and I worked on that for me will be probably the most personally satisfying thing I've done. So I had big ideas, and legally, you made them happen. So thank you, and I wish you and your family all the best. We'll certainly miss you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Barger.
Thank you. And I also want to thank, first of all, Ginger for stepping up to the plate and filling a huge void over the period of time when Bobby retired. And so a big thank you to you. I know that you have definitely led the department through some tough times, and you are truly someone that we want to thank, I think, collectively as a board and recognize the work that you've done. And we wish you good luck. I'm sure you're still going to be involved. We've talked, and I know you still want to be very much involved with child welfare issues, and so I look forward to working with you in your next chapter of your life. And then to Rod, you know, having 5 bosses, you made it look easy. You always balanced the needs of this board, recognizing, you know, the legal guidelines that we had to deal with. Sheila, being a lawyer, was our personal counsel, and so you kind of took that on as well. Same with a smile, Sheila. But I just want to thank you for everything that you've done. You are truly a man of integrity, and it reflects well on the entire county council. And I'm excited that, you know, you had a great bench to draw from, and I'm excited that Dawn, now being in that spot, can carry on the legacy that you've built. So we wish you a lot of luck, and we will miss you. And then last but not least, Victor. I was honored enough to go to his retirement, and I got to meet his family, and there is a life outside of the county. And knowing Victor and meeting his family, it speaks volumes to the man that he is. He is truly a man of family, of faith, and definitely someone who took his job as sheriff's deputy very seriously and recognized the importance of the work that he did. And so I'm excited for him to enjoy his grandchildren, and he's going to learn how to bake and cook, which will be interesting. But I just want to thank you, Victor, for everything that you did on behalf of this board, and for me personally. Your sense of humor kept me grounded and kept me humble. So with that, I wish you all that is good in your retirement. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Of course. And Supervisor Kuehl.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. First to Rod. Okay, I know you're all joking about how, you know, Sheila's the lawyer, but I actually think about what lawyers should do and try not to act too much like one because I'm not county counsel. And Rod, you were the perfect balance of intellect, research, considered opinion, sort of calm approach in the middle of so much litigation, so much, settlement. I mean, I don't think that we have the slightest idea of everything that county council does every day. And I want to thank you because your work has been some of the most important work that was done for the county, and wish you every happiness, you and your family. To Ginger, moving all the way across the country to come and join Bobby and us to work with our children in this county, it was very, very much appreciated. Your steadiness, your heart and compassion, and the approach that you brought to this whole arena, very, very much appreciated. And then when Bobby left and you stepped up, and I think stretched the amount of time that you stayed with us just to make certain that these children were protected, I can't tell you how grateful I am, and I wish you every happiness in the next, phase. And to Victor, I echo everything that everyone has said about you, and only want to add, in those several times when there were crowds outside my house protesting, banging on the doors, banging on the windows, shining laser lights in the windows, pasting signs, all over the house and my garden and my bushes and everything. Knowing that you couldn't really interfere, and your work with the Santa Monica police, but the main thing was just knowing that you were there, that you were always there instantly on the phone, because I don't think people know how really terrifying it is when your house is kind of surrounded by a bunch of yelling people, even if they're just protesting. And you really helped. And I wanted to say a personal thank you for that, and best wishes in everything that comes next. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I would just like to echo all of the amazing, wonderful, thoughtful, personal comments made by every member of the board, and wish all of you Godspeed and good health and fortune in your retirement and your future endeavors. So thank you all for those beautiful comments. Executive Officer, will you please read the short title of the public hearing items before we go to the public comment and swear in those who plan to testify before the board on the public hearing items?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For those who plan to testify before the board on the public hearing item, please be prepared to be sworn in. In the testimony you may give before this board, you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Item 79 is a hearing on project number PRJ 2021-002039 to adopt a comprehensive update to the Los Angeles County General Plan Safety Element and the associated amendment to the land use element to make the plan consistent with state requirements and amend the safety element goals and policies regarding emergency response. A departmental statement was provided and correspondence was received. Item 80 is a hearing on an ordinance for adoption amending County Code Title V, Personnel, which provides the Director of Personnel authority to discipline county employees for noncompliance with the county's COVID-19 vaccination policy and related directiveness. No departmental statement was provided and correspondence was received.
And we will now take public comments for all agenda items. Executive Officer, please read the call-in information that was also provided on the agenda and explain the speaking rules to those members of the public who are calling in to address the board.
As indicated on the agenda, members of the public wishing to offer public comment should call 877-336-4437 and use participant code number 1366786. To repeat, please call 877-336-4437 and use participant code number 1366786. Do not call that number if you only want to listen to the meeting. To listen only, please call 877-873-8017 and follow the instructions. To members of the public calling in, when it's your turn to speak, Please state your name and which agenda items you wish to speak on. We will allocate 90 minutes for all public comments on all items posted on today's agenda. You will have 1 minute to speak on one agenda item or 2 minutes to speak on 2 or more agenda items. In addition, those who would like to address the board with general public comment will be provided 1 additional minute for a maximum total up to 3 minutes per person. We will continue to accept all written comments that come in during the meeting, which will become part of the record. When speaking on the agenda items, you must be on topic. Our goal is to get through as many speakers as we can. If you're not speaking on topic, or if we cannot tell if you're speaking on an agenda item, you will get 1 warning from County Council or the chair. If you do not immediately or clearly get on topic, or if you stray off topic again, you will forfeit the rest of your time, and the chair will move to the next speaker. Please note that if you're also listening to the board meeting on a computer or speakerphone, you will need to turn down the volume on those devices as soon as the moderator calls on you. If you do not turn down the volume, there will be an echo. Moderator, may we have the first speaker, please?
Our first participant comes from the line of Mark Gold. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you so much. My name is Mark Gold, and I'm Executive Director of the California Ocean Protection Council, as well as Deputy Secretary for Coast and Ocean Policy for the state of California. And items 7, 36, and 77, and calling to congratulate. Obviously, it's been approved on consent already, so that's great news. I just wanted to let you know that the Ocean Protection Council is very eager to work with you on really trying to implement the single-use plastic food service waste ordinance. We all know about how large a problem this is, 11 million tons of plastic per year going into our oceans. We at the state have taken a lot of leadership on plastics in a wide variety of different areas. The first ever microplastic strategy was just released a couple of months ago, California's Ocean Litter Prevention Strategy. And then I'm sure you heard globally that the United Nations is starting their efforts to develop a marine plastic pollution treaty by 2024. So I bring that up in the context of saying we've already funded the nonprofit Upstream to put together a toolkit for reuse and reduction with a wide variety of different policy tools, as well as examples on various different products that businesses can use and companies and the like. They put this together in a reusable California policy playbook, and they're doing trainings for businesses, local governments, et cetera, on this. We would like to work with you at the county and provide you also with some financial assistance on a training program for the businesses in Los Angeles County that are going to be impacted by this ordinance. And so just wanted to express that we have a very eager partner in the Ocean Protection Council that is really looking forward to working with the county on this really critical and important ordinance to stop the scourge of marine plastic pollution. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant will come from the line of Brenda Olmos. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Brenda Olmos, Mayor for the City of Paramount, and I will be discussing today item number 6. And I really appreciate the opportunity to address the board today on this very important topic. Paramount is well aware of the need to plan for and monitor air quality in our communities. A number of years ago, we were notified by the South Coast Air Quality Management District about an issue regarding industrial air pollution in our city. That was the beginning of a long period of education and ultimate action on our part. We have been able to take a number of initiatives and become partners with AQMD to keep tabs on air quality issues and be sure that all forms of communication are open between our businesses, our regulators, and the city. Along with this, we added new environmental justice element to the city's long-term housing element. These efforts have been recognized in a number of positive ways, such as the AQMD's Model Community Achievement Award and this body's LA Community Green Leadership Award. All of this involves creating our own policies where we could, making sound plans, and informing our residents every step of the way. My colleagues on the City Council agree that this motion before you this morning would build a vision that can only improve public health outcomes. We have been there, we know it works. And again, we thank you, Supervisor Hahn, for introducing this crucial steps, and thank you for listening to me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant comes from the line of Emily Parker. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi there, this is Emily Parker. I'd like to speak on items 7, 36, 77, and general public comment. Thank you and good morning, supervisors. I'm speaking today on behalf of Heal the Bay, our local environmental nonprofit organization, and I'm also speaking on behalf of the Reusable LA Coalition. We strongly support the reduction of waste from single-use articles and expanded polystyrene products ordinance. Right now, we are in the midst of a waste crisis. Single-use plastic articles are detrimental, not only to the health of our natural ecosystems, but to our communities. This ordinance will reduce an enormous source of pollution by curbing plastic foodware waste and banning expanded polystyrene, which consistently fall in Heal the Bay's top 5 items found in our trash cleanups. Use of single-use plastic foodware has unnecessarily increased dramatically during the COVID-19 pandemic, upwards of 300% in the last 2 years. And data from our cleanups shows that plastic foodware and accessories are consistently in the top 10 items, and in beaches and in waterways where they're impossible to clean, wreak havoc on ecosystem health, and transfer toxins back onto our own plates. In addition to improving ecological conditions, this ordinance can also benefit small businesses. Case studies at hundreds of restaurants and food facilities across the state have shown that switching to reusables is overwhelmingly successful in achieving net cost savings upwards of $20,000 annually, waste reduction, and greenhouse gas emissions reductions. Similar policies to this ordinance have already passed in over 150 jurisdictions across the state, and with proper outreach and support, small businesses can easily come into compliance. Many restaurants in Los Angeles are already putting these requirements into practice, and when doing so, they experience cost savings and customer satisfaction. With prices increasing for disposable plastics and affordable alternatives readily available, this ordinance makes sense, and it will set our food facilities up for long-term success by shifting away from harmful disposable products and opting for reusable and compostable options instead. I'd like to briefly offer a couple of recommendations to even further improve this ordinance, details of which can be found in our written letter on the public record. We first recommend expanding the definition of recyclable to avoid incineration and chemical recycling and other dangerous end-of-life solutions. And we also recommend expanding the reuse for dine-in requirement to all food facilities, not just full service. As a global leader in environmental protections and community health, it's high time for Los Angeles to listen to its people and small business owners instead of large corporations and faceless associations. We must move away from toxic and harmful plastic products that proliferate in an extractive economy that pollutes both people and planet. This ordinance is an essential step to reducing a major source of plastic pollution, and we express our strong support. I'd like to also thank the supervisors and their staff for their dedication to protecting our precious communities and our environment, and for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Gustavo Herrera. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
This is Gustavo Herrera, item 27 in general public comment. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, please begin.
Good morning and buenos dias, Madam Chair Mitchell and supervisors. Happy Arts Month to LA County and Happy Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month to all Californians. My name is Gustavo Herrera, CEO of Arts for LA. We are the regional arts and culture advocacy organization representing 75,000 arts advocates and 185 arts and culture organizations. Thank you, Chair Mitchell and Kuehl, for initiating the Advancing Equity and Grant Funding motion, and I urge the Board of Supervisors to vote yes on this motion. Supervisors, I ask that you consider 2 data points as you consider today's motion and the urgency of this motion. A recent study by SMU Data Arts found that unemployment in the arts was double that of the overall national unemployment, with BIPOC and disabled individuals disproportionately affected. A recent survey found that LA performing arts organizations are seeing a 50% return in audience and approximately 1/3 pre-pandemic revenues. The need to support jobs and businesses through this motion is urgent for arts and culture. Last month, the U.S. recorded the fastest pace of annual inflation in 40 years. but there has been no increase in over 1 decade to the organizational grant program, OGP, to account for rising costs of operations, wages, and artist compensation. Today's yes vote is a step towards advancing cultural equity in Los Angeles. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Tab Rhodes. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressed today and whether you're addressing general public comment. You may begin.
Good morning. I will be addressing agenda item number 80 and general comment. Madam Chair and members of the board, my name is Tab Rhodes, and I'm the president of Los Angeles County Professional Peace Officers Association, or POPA, which represents over 9,000 active and retired members of the county workforce. Our members, by definition of their roles, advocate for safety of the citizens of Los Angeles County. However, the COVID-19 pandemic, like many other issues in society, currently is often defined by emotion. Many of our membership have already been vaccinated or as frontline responders suffered the effects of COVID-19, presumably now having antibodies against future infection. Others have strong feelings related to the vaccine and its unknown long-term effects. The proposed revision to the county code on today's agenda is a targeted overreach by members of this board to undermine the authority of one person, an elected department head whose actions are not in line with the board's wishes, and which has direct impacts on the membership of POPA and other labor partners. And speaking of labor partners, the information provided to this board by county counsel is misrepresented. The cover letter from the Deputy County Counsel of the Labor and Employment Division states, quote, as directed by your board, the Chief Executive Office met with the county's labor partners regarding the effects of this ordinance, end quote. This did not happen. POPA and other members of the County Coalition of Unions have communicated to the CEO's office our desire to meet and confer with no response. Additionally, member unions of the CCU are still at impasse regarding the existing COVID-19 policy. Our request is simple. POPA would ask that this board delay any vote on this agenda item until good faith negotiations and legal requirements of MMBA have been completed. Unilateral action without complying with the law is illegal, undermining, and flies in the face of Los Angeles County's recognition as a labor county. POPA is and always will be grateful for
Your
the
time has
opportunity to
expired.
work
May we have the next speaker,
with the
please?
board.
Next, we'll go to the line of Peter Warda. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Good morning, Peter Warda, item 36, and general public comment. Chair Mitchell and Supervisors, good morning. My name is Peter Warda, and I'm calling on behalf of VICA, the Valley Industry and Commerce Association. We oppose item 36. While VICA understands the objectives of eliminating plastic waste in the environment, it's not clear that this policy will lead to a decrease in litter, increase in diversion from landfills, or a reduction of greenhouse gases. However, the proposed ordinance will increase costs to local restaurants, retail businesses, schools, and elderly facilities. To put the cost impacts into perspective, 1,000 traditional plastic forks costs about the same as 140 compostable forks. The proposal also does not consider individual businesses' needs and specific situations. Local restaurants, retail businesses, schools, and elderly facilities are struggling with costs, labor shortages, and several other government mandates and COVID-related challenges. To survive, they deserve the ability to choose from compliant options based on cost, functionality, supply chain availability, and customer needs. These choices are particularly important now when the pandemic has caused a significant decline in dine-in services. Existing and emerging recycling technologies are capable of sustainably recycling food serviceware made of plastic. County efforts should focus on other options, such as products with post-consumer material, educating citizens on littering and recycling, and implementing sustainable organics and recycling programs rather than banning entire product lines. We urge you to oppose the plastic ordinance restricting food service packaging and takeout containers. This will only bring more regulations and higher costs in LA County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of C.J. O'Brien. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, this is CJ O'Brien. I'll be speaking on items 7, 36, 77, and general public comment. Thank you to the LA County Board of Supervisors for your leadership on reducing unnecessary single-use plastic. My name is CJ O'Brien. I'm the Plastics Campaign Associate at Oceana, the largest international advocacy organization dedicated solely to ocean conservation. I'm calling in to support items number 7, 36, and 77, the reduction of waste from single-use articles and expanded polystyrene products ordinance to ban single-use plastic foodware, ban expanded polystyrene products, and require reusables for full-service dine-in eateries. Plastic pollution is a growing threat to the world's oceans, as well as the health of our communities. Each year, 33 billion pounds of plastic enter the marine environment, which is roughly equivalent to dumping 2 garbage trucks full of plastics into the ocean every minute. If nothing changes, the amount of plastic entering the ocean is projected to triple by 2040. Marine animals, many of which are endangered, are consuming or becoming entangled in the plastic flooding our ocean, and this poses a great risk to the health of our critical marine ecosystems. On top of this, plastic has now been found in our water, our food, air, and bodies, and scientists are still learning how this may be affecting human health. Reducing the use of single-use plastic foodware used in restaurants is an important and critical step in tackling the plastic pollution crisis. I ask that you move forward with this ordinance today. The time to act is now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, go to the line of Clara Castronovo. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi there. My name is Clara. I'll be speaking on items 7, 36, 77, and general public comment. Hello, I'm a second-year sociology major at UCLA and an intern with CalPERS students, and I'm speaking in support of the single-use plastics ordinance. Plastic pollution is important to me because plastic waste is everywhere and poses a really big health risk to our community. Refining oil to make plastic releases a lot of harmful toxins into our air and water. Additionally, due to bioaccumulation, chemicals in plastics pose a greater and greater threat to our health over time. And plastic doesn't biodegrade, but instead breaks down into microplastics, which contaminate our water and even enter our bodies. And this causes long-term health effects, which disproportionately affect people in underserved communities where plastic pollution is greater. Also, only 5% of plastic is recycled, so that is not really a long-term solution to this problem. And phasing out single-use plastics in LA County would be a really big step to preserve the environment and public health of our communities. UCLA students are in support of this ordinance. CalPERS Students is a student-run, student-funded advocacy group, and we have collected close to 1,930 petition signatures and 38 personal letters from UCLA students. We also worked with UCLA student government to unanimously pass a resolution endorsing this ordinance and have the support of 16 small businesses in LA County. It is clear that this is an issue that's important to the community, so I'm urging the board to approve the single-use plastics ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Melanie Schlotterbeck. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you. Agenda item 79, Melanie Schlotterbeck, representing Hills for Everyone. We support the safety element. Those with the least financial means are the least able to recover from natural disasters and suffer homelessness. We know that evacuations fail and homes built to new codes burn anyway. More than half the structures lost in the Ventura fire had fire-resistant features. Evacuation routes are already beyond capacity. Multiple fires have proven this point. The safety element and land use amendment are balanced. They do not stop all new construction in fire zones, but only those that leapfrog beyond the current limit. Within an existing community, new subdivisions can continue. We ask that the current language not be weakened. We commend this compromise that gets us on the right track to a safe future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Faramars Nabavi. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you. I'd like to speak on items 5, 7, 26, 28, 36, and 77 in general public comment. I'm a constituent of Supervisor Sheila Kuehl in the San Fernando Valley. I want to speak on items 7, 36, and 77 in support of reducing single-use items and specifically disposable plastic waste. I also support item 28, which is to get past AB 1608 to separate coroners from sheriff's departments to reduce the risk of bias. I also want to thank Supervisor Kuehl for being one of the authors of item 5 to make sure that there's a strong rental housing habitability program that protects renters from substandard housing, from mold and pest infestations, because healthy housing is foundational. It is a racial and economic justice issue, and substandard housing leads to displacement, health problems, and disease. So I want to finally mention that on item 26, I also support the ensuring of proper oversight, given all of the scandals that have come out about Sheriff Alex Villanueva. We need to have better oversight of the Sheriff's Department. So I thank the board for putting that on the agenda as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you. And as a reminder to address the board, if you've not already done so, please press 1 then 0 at this time. Do not press 1 and 0 a second time, or you'll be removed from the queue.
We will now hear the Spanish interpretation of this reminder.
Como recordatorio, para dirigirse a la Junta, si aún no lo ha hecho, presione 1 luego 0 en este momento. No presione 1 luego 0 por segunda vez o será eliminado de la fila. Gracias.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Daniel Turner. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi there, my name is Daniel Turner, and I'll be speaking on items 7, 36, 77, and general public comment. I'm a fourth-year student at UCLA and an intern with CalPERS students, and I'm speaking in support of the single-use plastic ordinance. We know that a lot of pollution comes from things that we don't need, and we know for decades that we shouldn't be using. In the Los Angeles area alone, 10 metric tons of plastic fragments coming from things like grocery bags, straws, and soda bottles are carried into the Pacific Ocean every day. I think we can all agree that nothing that we use for 5 minutes should be polluting our environment for hundreds of years. And 2 years ago, I worked with CalPERS students to get UCLA committed to phasing out single-use plastics on campus. Since then, UCLA has witnessed a massive decline in single-use plastic pollution, which leads to cleaner ecosystems and bolsters the public health of the campus community. I've seen the tremendous positive effects that an ordinance like this can have, which is why I'm urging the Board of Supervisors to approve the single-use plastics ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Harry Simmerjan. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Yes, good morning, honorable supervisors. My name is Harry Simmerjan, and I'm a senior public policy manager with the LA Area Chamber of Commerce. We represent the interests of 500,000 businesses in the Los Angeles region and the voice over our 1,400 members. The LA Area Chamber strongly opposes item 36, the proposed ordinance that would ban the use of single-use plastics. While well-intentioned, the proposed ordinance will unfairly harm our most vulnerable small businesses and add new costs to food and goods as residents of our city struggle with rising inflation and the costly economic impacts of the pandemic. The timing of this proposed ordinance couldn't be worse, given these and other concerns associated with the ongoing supply chain challenges and labor cost increases. These new mandated costs would add to all the skyrocketing costs small businesses are currently struggling with. For these reasons and more, the LA Chamber forcefully opposes item 36 and asks for your no vote in the spirit of ensuring that our businesses stay afloat during these difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Donald Harlan. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, this is Donald Harlan. I'd like to speak on agenda item 3, 5, 8, 15, 19, 23, 24, 28, 40, 45, 47, 52, 53, and a general public comment. I'll need the full 3 minutes. Okay, I need to a motion to cease agenda item number 3, appointments to commissions, committees, and special district. I want a motion to cease and desist for the LA County Board of Supervisors to make them stop any further appointments to commissions, committees, or special districts. I need to motion no to all the amendments to all the agenda items. This is the illegal land grab. This is the illegal power grab. That's not LA County land. It's not for them to decide what to do with. Those supervisors and all those amendments to these agenda items, these supervisors need to go to jail just for recommending them. Agenda item number 5, establish a housing habitability rent escrow program. No, they're just trying to justify illegal development and real estate crimes they're committing. Agenda item number 8, 988 implementation. No, too much personal information for the government. These people shouldn't be in there doing that. Agenda item number 15, reconveyance of Deer Lake Housing Development ranch land out there. You know what? 4-Star Delaware does not own that. There was an illegal land grab and modification of the assessor report 1998 to 2000. Those 2 assessor reports, illegal. It was out of sequence in 2003, and then in 2007 they deleted the assessor report, and 2007 they declared it vacant land. They did a 21 parcel split, and all of a sudden it's worth all these millions of dollars. You know what? Those people don't own it. There's a big problem. People trying to claim land. Those are the people in there illegally that need to be stopped. Agenda item number 19. No. I mean, the Board of Supervisors, they don't just want our land, our jobs, our money. They want our bodies, too. They want us to donate our body to the DMV. And then agenda item number 24, they want to visit everybody's kids. I mean, what the heck is that? They want our real estate, our bodies, and our kids. I'm not kidding. There's crazy people in the Board of Supervisors. They need to go to jail. I have a big problem. Agenda item number 52, on-call real estate director for public works. No. Los Angeles River grant of easement parcels. No. They're illegal claims of LA County property.
Your time has expired.
People in there trying.
May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we'll go to the line of Natalie Friedberg. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Yes, hello. I'm speaking on items 7, 36, 77, and general public comment. Good morning, Madam Chair, honorable supervisors. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Natalie Friedberg. I'm the president of the Silver Lake Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to show that I'm a volunteer and receive no compensation whatsoever for being here today. I'm speaking in support of reducing plastic foodware. Over the past 2 years, even more so than before 2020, I've worked closely with restaurants all over Northeast LA, both members and non-members, finding resources to help them and their employees. Yes, they have had a tough time, and I'll do anything I can to help them. That's why I'm here. The cost of single-use plastic and polystyrene foodware has skyrocketed because of supply chain issues, and rising oil prices are making disposables even more expensive. The cost of switching to reusable foodware compostables is actually fairly negligible, especially with the available programs for helping restaurants in making that switch. If needed, there's even a hardship clause they can use if they need more time to adapt. Frankly, since the health department never issued an order that they couldn't use reusables, most were only using disposables because of some COVID unknowns, and at this point have already switched back to reusables as quickly as possible, so this won't affect them very much. I know that you've been told that passing these ordinances will harm restaurant owners, which I find very curious. I talk to the mom and pop operators. That's who I represent and speak with all the time. Many of them can't afford to belong to large chambers or organizations. The vast majority of them are not just fine with doing away with single-use plastics, they're in favor of it. Some who've had time to do so have submitted letters and comments to you in support of your aye vote. Lastly, many restaurant owners, like their customers, have children. They care deeply about what they leave behind for them. They want it to be their restaurant, the legacy they're working to create, and not the legacy of a planet full of plastic. Instead of fighting against the move from plastic disposables, many are embracing it and using it to market themselves. We all know that customers want us to move away from plastic. This is happening, we all know it. Waiting any longer just doesn't make sense for anyone, including small business owners. I truly hope that you'll do the right thing and pass these motions. Thank you so much for your time and your leadership on this important issue.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Lynn Plambeck. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Okay, I'm addressing the single-use plastics in support and on behalf of Sierra Club, Urban Wildlands, Wildfire Committee, the safety element in support, but asking please, we submitted a detailed letter about some issues in the wording of the element that we think will make it stronger. Its placement of ands and semicolons and concern over the last policy that you included. But we ask that you look at that, and I've been told that perhaps they will be addressed in the guidelines, but often the guidelines are not what gets read, it's the element itself. So if you could make those really minor corrections. And thank you so much for working on the safety element. We've had terrible fires out in several places in Los Angeles County. I live in Santa Clarita, and of course we had the Sand Fire where we lost 2 people and several horses, so and due to poor evacuation problems. So I strongly support this. Our committee has been writing letters in support of the motions that Sheila Kuehl made regarding evacuation and evaluation of wildfire impacts, and we appreciate you doing this, but ask again that you look at our letter and that you consider making those small minor changes to ensure that the element works the way the board intends. Also, I want to ask for general public comment that you consider finding a way to continue hybrid meetings. I live in Santa Clarita. It's 3 hours round trip to come and speak to you, not to mention the expense of either the train or the parking. So it would be wonderful if we could continue to communicate with you on the telephone and not have to spend an entire day at the Board of Supervisors meeting to be able to communicate with our supervisors. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we'll go to the line of Eric Previn. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Please begin.
To join the conference, as the host, please hold. A specialist will be with you momentarily.
May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we're going to go to the line of Allison Wazowski. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Allison Waliszewski, and I'm the Policy and Outreach Manager with the Five Gyres Institute and Reusable LA Coalition. I would like to speak on items 7, 36, 77, and general public comment.
Please begin.
Honorable Supervisors, please vote in support of items 7, 36, and 77, supporting the Comprehensive Plastics Reduction Ordinance. Every year in the U.S., we use 561 billion disposable food items and in turn create 4.6 million tons of waste. Now is the time for the county to lead on this issue. The false barriers preventing change are manufactured by the fossil fuels and plastics industries. We must fight their tired narrative that we can individually pick up and recycle our way to healthier communities. Instead, we must listen to science, and science tells us that we need to phase out single-use plastics and focus on reusables in order to impart true change. Throughout the whole death cycle of plastics, human health is jeopardized. From the toxicity of polyfluoroalkyl substances, also called PFAS, a toxic class of chemicals commonly found in takeout containers, to the toxic chemical styrene leaching out of every single foam container and coffee cup that our community's members use every day. Plastic leach harmful toxins into our food and bodies and are known to be endocrine disruptors, cause birth defects, and shocking scientific studies have recently found the presence of nanoplastics in human placenta. We must listen to science and phase out single-use plastics altogether. Reusable foodware continues to be the safest and most responsible choice for all of our communities and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Robert Ward. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Robert Ward. I'm addressing item number 80 in general public comment. I've been with LA County Sheriffs for 36.5 years, and I'm currently a member of Professional Peace Officers Association. I'm 100% opposed to the Board of Supervisors adding Rule 18.10 to the LA County Code. There have been no contractual obligations to meet and confer process to discuss this ill-advised action. It flies in the face of legal bargaining agreement approved between the county and thousands of POPA members and other unions. There's no excuse for this attempt to circumvent the collective bargaining process. Also, public safety officials have the Peace Officer Bill of Rights, Government Code Section 3304, subsection B, that provides that no punitive action nor denial of promotion on grounds of other than merit shall be undertaken by any public agency against any public safety officer who has successfully completed the probationary period that may be required by his or her employing agency without providing the public safety officer with an opportunity for administrative appeal. By implementing Rule 1810, the county will be allowed to impose discipline that is presumably not subject to administrative appeal and violates the Peace Officer Bill of Rights. The Board of Supervisors should absolutely not, repeat, not add 1810 to the county code. Instead, do the right thing and work with Pope and other unions to address your concerns and our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Radha Patel. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Radha Patel. I am speaking on items 7, 36, 77, and general public comment. I'm a fourth-year sociology major at UCLA and the chapter chair of CalPERS students as well, working to protect the environment, affordability, and civic engagement on our campus. Over 10 million tons of plastics is dumped into our oceans every year. Less than 10% of that is recycled, and even worse, it does not biodegrade. They get broken down into microplastics that get consumed by us and wildlife. Every turtle in our ocean right now has plastics in its body. Our futures are also at risk. Unfortunately, plastic is now in our bodies, even in our bloodstreams. We know that the only way to combat one of the biggest threats to our future is by banning single-use plastics in the largest county in the nation. This ordinance is one step forward in the fight against plastic pollution that can get us back to oceans that represent our beautiful Golden State. And we have 16 small business sign-ons and supports. And here at UCLA, we have 20 written public comments in favor of that commitment. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
As a reminder, to address the board, if you've not already done so, please press 1, then 0 at this time. Do not press 1, 0 a second time, or you'll be removed from the queue. Next, we'll go to the line of Adriana Salcido. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. Please go ahead.
Yes, I am opposing item number 80. I know it is constitutional. I know it is unconstitutional. I had a brother who was in the ICU. He did the mask mandate, took the vaccine, and got COVID and had to be admitted into the hospital even after he got the vaccine. And I don't think it's constitutional for anyone to tell anyone that they have to be vaccinated. I've heard a lot of comments for item number 73677 about the plastics being poisonous to the body, but so is a jab and a poison that has not been proven to work against COVID-19. So I stand with the police officers. I stand with Villanueva. I do not agree. And just hear me now. I am not the only one that disagrees with item 80 and opposes it. you need to be careful with what you are all doing. You are representing us.
Excuse me.
You work
Your
for
time has
us.
expired. May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we go to the line of Alcone Komodo. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
I will be speaking on items 79 and 80, but not on general public comment. Hello, my name is Alcione Komodo. For item 79, ladies of the board, if you vote to accept the project, amendment, and negative declaration, you will be helping to create a world in which your children and grandchildren, your nieces and nephews, will be living in a forest of 5G cell towers saturated with sickening microwave radiation every hour of every day of every year. However, if you vote to reject these items, you will be helping to create a world in which your family's wellness and happiness are valued, protected, and promoted. For item 80, should you vote yes, you will be fundamentally violating the unalienable rights of your employees to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And you will be violating your oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of California. I am asking you to respect and support your employees and honor your sacred promise. Vote no on this item. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Aline Saylor. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, good morning. Yes, I will be addressing item 60A, 80th, as well as the item that deals with 5G. Good morning, Board of Supervisors. I'm urging you to vote against items 68 and 80. Many states, counties, cities are moving forward and accept that COVID is here to stay. The board has decided to punish those who are not willing to register with Fulgent Genetics, a company that might have questionable ties to China. There are vaccinated individuals who have been suspended over failure to register with Fulgent. Passing the ordinance and adding section 2.07.040 should be concerning because it is intended to punish an individual who is actually held accountable to the LA County residents. It seems the board wants to centralize power. The board should be concerned about pushing emergency use authorization products on their employees. Federal Judge Alan Windsor said that community is not interchangeable with Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines. All vaccines available are under emergency use authorization. There must be informed consent in order to accept such products. Also, the county needs to take into account all documents released from the FDA, which address natural immunity as well as long-term risks who are unknown. One of them, it could affect fertility, it could affect pregnant women, it could affect women who are breastfeeding. Item 88 seeks again to punish employees who have chosen not to participate in the biggest experiment in history. Where there is a risk, there should be a choice. A lot of county employees who are now facing termination work day and night when the vaccine was not available. A lot of them contracted COVID. According to the CDC, there is no significant value to vaccinate those individuals.
Your time has expired. May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we'll go to the line of Amparo Astillot. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Amparo Astillot. I live in District 1. I am addressing on general public comment. I request that for the Department of Mental Health, the UCCs and the CCCC ask that there is an increase in funding for the USCCs and CC with the MHSA dollars, and to restart the timeline, the 30-day timeline for the consumer input for the 3-year MHSA plan. We request that additional time is given to the community to do public comment. They're asking for, we're asking for 5% of the CSS budget for the planning, outreach, and engagement, according to the Welfare Institutions Code, Section 5847B and 5848A. It's required that the draft be developed through community program
Excuse
and
me.
planning process.
Your time has expired. May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we'll go to the line of Andy Ramirez. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hello, good morning, board members. We'll be addressing items 7, 36, 77, and general public comments. Good morning, board members. My name is Andy Ramirez. I'm also a student at UCLA. I'm a third-year political science major, also an intern for the CalPERG Students Organization chapter at UCLA. And I'm speaking to you in support of phasing out single-use plastics in LA County, that is in support of the ordinance. Just a little bit of background about myself. I'm a child to a single mother who managed her household on her own. I was always taught to use things resourcefully and conserve as much as I could. And this conservative philosophy was ingrained into me and is still very much the main philosophy that I follow. And I plan to follow. It's this philosophy that ultimately led me to become involved with CalPERG students. I'm aware of the harmful effects that our increasing dependence on single-use plastics has had on the environment. Today, we produce about 3 million tons of plastic waste every year. That's nearly equivalent to the weight of the entire human population. Ironically, plastic is now becoming part of us as we have found it in bloodstream. Someone mentioned that's been found in human placenta. That's very concerning. It should be concerning to everyone, all humans, because there has been research, as mentioned by another commenter, about, various health effects that could be adverse to our health. And there may be even more with future research. So I urge the member to support the ordinance. These ordinances are not easy to champion. They're not easy to have passed. It's for the obvious reason that organizations like CalPERG students are very small relative to large chemical industries and smaller in immediate scale. But our modest position in this battle does not discourage us, as the aggregate amount of environmental advocates of the next generation instills into us hope. For these reasons, we call to action at LA County Board of Supervisors. And we understand that a measure like this taken by the LA County can serve as a large influence to the preceding actions that the state of California might take in tackling the same issue. And not only might influence action from the state, but also from the nation at large. It's imperative that the people of today act in service of the procurement of the future of the generations of tomorrow, and action from the LA County is no doubt a large step in that direction. We must calculate the cost for the future generations of this problem of today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Liz Barris. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, yes, I'm not well, and one of the reasons, the reason is my exposure to microwave radiation, and I don't even know how much time I have with general comment and what items, anyway, definitely item 79, I'd like you to please reject this 5G industry power grab, and then with item 80, there's been nanotech confirmed to be found in the vaccines, and they hook people up to what's called the Internet of Bodies via the 5G infrastructure. And both the FCC lost their lawsuit. I was one of the plaintiffs against them. It's been proven now in a court that the FCC is not protecting public health with regards to 5G, and cancer, neurological illness, and genetic damage are all part of the health effects from 5G and wireless infrastructure. And regarding the vaccine, it's just inhumane, to expose people to this kind of a experimental power grab with nanotech and spike proteins that can kill people, but the nanotech is for surveillance purposes of people's bodies. I urge you to reject both 79 and 80. And I get very sick for 3 days. I tried to work out at my gym. I can no longer go because there's a 5G transmitter across the street. I sleep in my car because my neighbor upgraded her Wi-Fi. I have to work out of my car. My life has been completely demolished because of this radiation. And sure, I'm going to be suing, but 12 years of my life now I have spent out of society. I can no longer even be in society because of this radiation. And I'm one of the, quote, lucky ones that can feel it. Everybody's getting affected. You'll just never know what caused your neurological illness, cancer, or heart attack or death. And by the way, 5G can cause heart attacks, as can the vaccine. The spike protein is known to do that, and 5G can stop your heart. One pulse can stop your heart.
Excuse me? Your time has expired.
Yeah.
May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we'll go to the line of Deborah Gregory. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Gregory. I'm in support of item number 54. I'm representing Ballona Creek Renaissance. We're a Culver City-based, all-volunteer, over 25-year-old nonprofit whose mission is cleaning, greening, advocating, beautification, and education of the residents of the Ballona Creek watershed. We've been on this journey with the Interceptor even prior to its consideration of the Ballona Creek as a location for this pollution reduction solution. We're thrilled with the prospect of a workable solution for our pollution crisis. As the county well knows, over 60,000 pounds of trash exits the Ballona Creek annually, and all of their educational, media, and trash booms have yet to solve the problem in a significant manner. Based on all the information our group has gathered through the many county sessions we've attended and watched, the talks with the county during our outreach events, the Interceptor pilot project needs to be installed as soon as possible. My nonprofit cleans up to 3 tons of trash annually from going out into the ocean. We've also successfully pursued single-use plastic bans in the city of Culver City. We know firsthand what goes on in our creek in this regard. We speak on behalf of the community and marine life when we encourage a clear vision of a plastic-free ocean.
Your time has expired. May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we'll go to the line of Bebe Kaspari. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Bibi Kaspari. I want to speak on agenda item 79 and a general public comment. I am electronically sensitive. I've got a condition called EHS, electronic magnetic hypersensitivity. Because of my health concerns, I've educated myself about the dangers of wireless technology, including cell towers, and the science shows the dangers. There are more than 1,000 scientific studies conducted by independent researchers from around the world concerning the negative biological effects of RF wireless radiation. Related to the proposed ordinance, there are safety concerns. The blanketing of LA County with wireless facilities will dramatically increase safety risks and impair their emergency response. There are environmental and health risks. The latest studies show the negative effects of radio frequency radiation exposure for children, animals, plants, basically all life. Now, that may sound dramatic and unreasonable, but there are studies that prove it. Science, you say about, people say about going to the science, this is the science. It causes brain neurology problems and DNA damage. Please don't pass the draft wireless ordinance as it stands. Consider the amendments that Malibu, Encinitas, and other cities across the U.S. have been taking, which regulate how close these small towers can be to neighborhoods and homes. Please oppose Title 22. LA County residents need a protective wireless ordinance. And in terms of a general comment, I do want to say, echoing on previous person, that I appreciate these hybrid meetings. I live in LA. I'm very concerned about certain issues, but I travel. I have to be out of town sometimes, and I appreciate the ability to attend in spite of my being out of town. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you. And as a reminder, to address the board, if you've not already done so, please press 1 then 0 at this time. Now press 1 and 0 a second time or you'll be removed from the queue.
We will now hear the Spanish interpretation of this reminder.
Como recordatorio, para dirigirse a la Junta, si aún no lo ha hecho, presione 1 luego 0 en este momento. No presione 1 y luego 0 por segunda vez o será eliminado de la fila. Gracias.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Jacqueline Ayer. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Jacqueline Ayer, and I'm speaking on behalf of Save Our Rural Town regarding agenda item 79. There are a lot of problems with this draft safety element and the attending negative declaration prepared pursuant to CEQA. First, this safety element amends the sustainability plan directly into the general plan. This will make the sustainability plan binding and enforceable, and it unequivocally commits the county to achieve the targets that the sustainability plan establishes. There is no question that this will result in environmental impacts. Therefore, you're obligated to consider these impacts before certifying and adopting a CEQA document and amending the county general plan. However, the environmental impacts of sustainability plan implementation have never been addressed, and they are completely ignored in the negative deck that you are about to certify. Therefore, your CEQA review is substantially deficient, and it will not withstand judicial review. Second, in late 2021, your attorneys told the courts that the sustainability plan commits the county to nothing, that the county has no commitment to achieve the sustainability plan targets or actions or goals, that county staff have no obligation to implement anything in the sustainability plan, and that the sustainability plan is not binding.
Excuse me, your time has expired. May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we'll go to the line of Nicole Pagier. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hi, I'm addressing item 79 and yes, public comment. So as a soon-to-be mother, I'm really hoping that you'll take your time to consider reworking the Title 22 Draft Wireless Ordinance to establish a safe distance between small cell towers in our homes so that our children don't have to grow up with cell towers outside their windows. I'm echoing what someone else said, so please do your research on what cities like Encinitas and Elk Grove and so many across the nation are doing to roll out this technology safely. In 2017, the California Department of Public Health actually issued guidelines on how to minimize your exposure to cell phone radiation. In these guidelines, the state suggested to not hold your cell phone up to your ear while talking, keep it near your body while streaming, or even to sleep with your cell phone near your bed unless it's in airplane mode or off. Yet LA County wants to bring these powerful towers that power these cell phones outside of our bedroom windows, giving us no choice but to be exposed to this radiation strong enough to power entire neighborhoods of cell phones on a 24-hour basis. I'm asking you to please consider rewriting this. Put these small cell towers in shopping centers, sports arenas, but not outside of our bedroom windows. Having them so close to our homes have proven to be a fire hazard, not to mention having them near your home is actually tanking property values. I worked so very hard to be able to afford a home in Los Angeles. It was a huge accomplishment, and I'm asking that the city please work to prioritize placing these small cells at safe distances from our houses so that our properties can retain our values. And not to mention the health issues, cities across the nation are delaying this technology due to cancer concerns, and they're well justified. As someone mentioned, the studies are out there. We're all in this together. I just want to remind the Board of Supervisors that this doesn't affect just us. It also affects you, your family, your friends, your neighbors as well. And so I'm just urging you to consider what some of these other cities across the nation are doing, and let's find a way to work together to just establish a safe distance from our homes and this technology. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Shona Ganguly. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
And can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please begin.
Okay. I'll be speaking on 7, 36, 77, and 79 in support. Chair Mitchell and board members, I am Shona Ganguly representing the Nature Conservancy, and I live in the 5th District. We support the safety update and land use amendment in its current form as a path-breaking response to climate change, remembering that disadvantaged communities are at most risk from disasters for fire and flood. Informed planning is needed to reduce risks and protect communities. These policies respond to extreme heat, increased wildfire, drought, and sea level rise. Together with the housing element, there is enough new housing for all income levels and safe locations. The update supports equity for all county communities in facing an uncertain climate future. The Nature Conservancy also supports the reduction of waste from single-use articles and expanded polystyrene products ordinance. I'm very concerned about the impacts of plastic pollution in our communities and on habitat in our county. With the extreme increase in use and littering of plastic foodware in the last 2 years, we support this ordinance and would like to ask the county to even further strengthen the language by expanding the reuse for dine-in in all food facilities. And we support Heal the Bay and Reusable LA's recommendations. The ordinance is complementary to the statewide plastics pollution reduction initiative that the board has voted to support already, and that the Nature Conservancy is supporting as well. Thank you, Board of Supervisors, and to the Office of Sustainability as well for your time and dedication to reducing plastic pollution in the region. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, go to the line of Rola Masri. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and what you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Yes, good morning, Honorable Board of Supervisors. My name is Rola Masri. I am an LA County resident and a research director for the California Brain Tumor Association. Our association works on the federal, state, and local level regarding wireless transmitting equipment safety. I will be speaking on agenda item 679 and general public comment. Just like we are now aware of the plastic pollution, we have to consider the impact of small cell technology on energy usage in the environment, especially when we have alternative technology that works better and uses less electricity. All the studies associated with my statement have been submitted to public record. According to a joint study released by InterDigital and ABI Research, the 5G ecosystem will see a 160% increase in power requirement by 2030. According to Boston Consulting Group, currently the information technology industry is responsible for 3 to 4% of global carbon dioxide emission, but by 2040 it will account for 14% of global emissions. Huawei analyst Anders Andre says that once base stations, data centers, and devices are added up, telecommunication could consume 20% of the world's electricity by 2025 and up to 25% by 2030, and that's compared to approximately 11% right now. According to an article published by IEEE, it was found that wireless technology will continue to consume at least 10 times more power than fiber to the premise when provided comparable access rates and traffic volumes. When comparing energy consumption of wired fiber optic connection to the premise to the wireless, it was found that fiber optic networks to the premise are the most energy efficient access solutions at high access rates. Why is LA County continuing to streamline small cells when we have a much more reliable and energy efficient fiber to the premise solution? CEQA and NEPA analysis should not be exempted when current research is showing us that we are headed into a disaster with small cell technology. We cannot afford to make this mistake here. Please opt for fiber to the premise technology and streamline it. We want this, and limit wireless infrastructure whenever possible. Thank you, and thank you to all the UCLA students for all their comments. When we have made mistakes with plastics in our generation, and they will have to pay for it. We don't want to make a mistake with this too. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, go to the line of Kathleen Gildred. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and what you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Yes, hi. I am going to be testifying on items number 79 and 80 and public comments. Okay, on 79. The draft ordinance should be delayed, and here's why. There's no evidence that the environmental study upon which the negative declaration is based even considered the harmful effects on humans and the environment of RF, EMF, non-oxidizing radiation. It is blatantly ignoring the critical element of radiation renders the negative declaration on its face invalid. This technology is harmful, as proven in over 10,000 peer-reviewed scientific studies, and the recent win in the FCC lawsuit on the FCC's failure to update their standards and exposure levels in 26 years. Do you know that the firefighters in California are now exempt from having 5G antennas installed at fire stations? After producing medical data indicating neurological damage to all firefighters working out of a station with 5G antennas, the firefighters union managed to get the governor of California to make an exemption for future stations that have cell towers installed. Also, scientific studies document the continuous RF EMF radiation exposure is closely tied with increased terpene production in conifers, which is highly flammable. The ordinance would eliminate due process protections for LA County community of prior notification and an opportunity to be heard in public hearings, which would replace 30 years of constitutional use permit system with an accelerated ministerial site review. In summary on that, the long-term consequences of the ordinance, the Board of Supervisors needs to pause and postpone, think this through clearly, consider other ordinances like in Malibu, Petaluma, Mill Valley, et cetera. This ordinance will have lasting effects on the health of our residents and our environment, and caution is advised before moving forward. On article number, ordinance number, 80, the Constitution protects a person's freedom of choice in medical treatment. It is unconstitutional to deny people's right to make their own medical choices. Rachel Walensky, the director of CDC, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and the WHO have all had to acknowledge that the vaccines cannot stop transmission. Both the vaccinated and unvaccinated carry similar viral loads. Many billions of vaccines have been administered during the past 32 years, yet in just 8 months, the COVID vaccines have injured and killed far more Americans than all other vaccines combined over 3 decades. The vaccines are so risky that the insurance industry has refused to underwrite them, and manufacturers refuse to produce them without blanket immunity from liability. I urge you to honor people's right to make their own decisions for their health, to consider the vaccines cannot prevent transmission, and to oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next we'll go to the line of Genevieve Codrell. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and what you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Yes, good morning. This is Dr. Genevieve Codrell, and I will speak to item 2, 13, and 73B and public comment. On item 2, I think it's important that we don't get carried away with COVID variants and so on. And I am impressed that today you have opened the board for you, the supervisor, and your little minions, but not for the public. So I just hope that this step in the right direction, that the next time you will open it to the public, because I am really missing not to be there in person. To people in hybrid setting, I don't think it's bad at all. Item 13, I am very in favor of that item because it's important that we look at technology and innovation in our wonderful county where we have JPL and all kind of Elon Musk is from Pasadena and so on. So I think we should use those brains to improve the work. On 13B, about the mental health services, I am very concerned of what's going on about the mental health. A couple of weeks ago, or longer than that, we had a crisis where I live, and a person needed really instant mental health support. And I did not get a call back until many, many days after. So that's very sad. And every time I mention therapeutic transport, nobody knows about it when it has been publicized over and over again. On my public comment, I just want to reinforce what I said about reopening the board. I mean, it's time. And about the Blue Ribbon Commission, they finally coming out, and one of their advice is to create an executive level action team. That's one thing I suggested many, many years ago. And that's one thing Supervisor Barber thought was a very good idea. It's too bad that the main recommendation of the Blue Ribbon Commission is stuff we should have been just thought and done many years ago. Anyway, that's what I have for today. I hope that next time I can see you, and I hope you get meeting every week again. Bye.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to the line of Scott Frayer. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and what you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Yes, my name is Scott Frayer, and I am here to speak about agenda number 80 and general public comment. I've been a Los Angeles County employee for 29 years and also a proud union member of Professional Peace Officers Association. I am 100% opposed to the Board of Supervisors adding Rule 1810 to the county code. There's been no contractual obligated meet and confer process with POPA or the Coalition of County Unions. Rewriting the county code to change the entire discipline structure for every county department also sets a dangerous precedent. Conflicts with one executive from a single department should not be cause for changing the entire civil service rules structure, especially if that executive is an elected official. The Board of Supervisors should absolutely not add Rule 1810 to the county code. Instead, do the right thing and hold this item until you meet with all members of the coalition. As we awake this morning, we have the best example of management and labor working together for a common good. Grocery workers and business owners sat down and negotiated a labor contract without running to court or slinging mud at one another. So once again, the residents of Los Angeles County can enjoy the comfort of walking into their local markets to feed their loved ones. By passing this measure, you will make the workers of LA County pay the price for this ongoing battle with the sheriff. But the real victims of your self-induced war will be the citizens of LA County, because in the end, they will be left with far fewer services than they enjoy today, and this will have occurred on your watch. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to the line of Eric Previn. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and what you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you. It's Eric Previn, and you have 92 items on your agenda today, which is a lot. I'll be honest with you. It's almost impossible to address them all. Why would I want to? Well, the cost of litigation, it's nice that Mr. Castro Silva is pushing on. He's retiring. If he's 50 years old, I'll be surprised. But nonetheless, he has to step off from the train wreck, understood. But the cost of litigation report's being kicked down until May after he's gone. That's not accountability. And everybody knows Dawn Harrison's doing a great job, but we need to understand how much Covington Burling is getting to do the little poke around the contracting fraud. And we need to also stack up Skip Miller's invoices along with all the federal relief he was receiving, over $1 million at his law firm, a small white collar law firm. This is just appalling, okay? We need those numbers. And it's nice that risk is down a little bit, but that's because everybody's been at home, so they can't complain about being abused at work. The $1.85 million settlement for the Dennis Finn story is really a tragedy. He was a whistleblower at the DCFS who revealed a heartbreaker that I can't even talk about because a mom killed her own kids. Just shameful. And, you know, the money, it lines up against the $3 million at LA City this morning they're handing out for an LA Fire Department-based racial harassment. Awful story. So I don't know. I mean, are we doing better or are we doing worse? It looks to me as if we're doing worse. And if we don't report out loud, we're certainly doing worse. At least we have two of the ordinarily half dozen Armenian recognition items today. I want to thank the 5th District for giving a special 5th District, and obviously the countywide, it is our Armenian History Month. But where is CD4, Supervisor Hahn? I think we need at least several more recognitions as we have in the past. And the Metro Board is getting excited about doing job order contracting. I noticed on item 56, the way it really started for very ordinary things like guardrail replacements, it was a fair way to earmark prices. But when the public is shut out of the process and Sheila jacks the authorization up to over $5 million, nobody sees how many times they're clicking the pellet or how many things they're ordering. And that's why the LA Times never wrote a single article about the fraud that was found in Long Beach that you all found yourselves. I remember when Solis and Janice Hahn held hands and bravely said, this is disgusting. Why are we pouring so much money out? So We have to do better in that case. Now, also, when you do on-call little pile-ups, this is a Sheila technique to pretend like we're not meeting half as much. You can't put closed-circuit television inspections along with vacuum cleaners and jetting services, which is a plumbing thing, or real estate, title act, with everything under the sun in one item.
Excuse
it's actually
me.
dozens of items.
Your time has expired. May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we go to the line of Craig Cadwallader. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you. Craig Cadwallader, Surffighter South Bay, and I'm speaking on items 7, 36, 77, and general public comment. I've been working on this type of ordinance for well over a decade and have seen it successfully implemented in many cities without negative business impacts. 150 ordinances and more have been passed in the state. All have polystyrene elements, and no negative known impacts to businesses have been identified. When I was working with the city of Long Beach on their polystyrene ordinance, their staff reported to council that they reached out to the city of San Francisco that has had a similar ordinance in place for many, many years. And city staff in San Francisco said that only 3 businesses claimed the hardship exemption. None of those were restaurants, and all 3 withdrew their request when the city worked with them to find alternative sources. There are no vetted facts that have ever been presented, to my knowledge, by the opposition to support their claims of negative impacts on business. The cost differences between expanded polystyrene and substitute items were examined in the 2018 Los Angeles County polystyrene study, and it showed only pennies or fractions of pennies difference in cost. The undue hardship clause provides for a safety valve for businesses, which we always recommend. And also, some of the organizations claim to represent everyone. They do not. They only represent a small fraction of the businesses in the area. We also believe that the Han Solis motion item 7 is wonderful to help set up a way to assist potential businesses and to create lists and outreach to help educate the businesses. The plastic waste increases taxes for both residents and businesses to clean up the mess that these single-use plastic items create in the environment. So there's actually a tax detriment to using these items, which is not discussed. Overall, this is a win-win-win situation. It's actually good for businesses. It's good for communities by keeping waste out of the communities, which creates a higher standard of living. And it's also good for the environment. I strongly encourage the board to support items 7, 36, and 77 and move forward to catch up with the rest of the state on an effective single-use plastics ordinance that's
Excuse me,
on the agenda.
your time has expired.
Thank you.
May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we go to the line of Armadi May. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and whether you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Dr. Armadi May. I'm speaking on items 68, 79, and 80, as well as general comment. I am in strong opposition to this proposed ordinance to discipline employees of Los Angeles County who are declining an experimental gene modification agent falsely dubbed a so-called COVID-19 vaccine. According to Dr. Fauci, as well as CDC Director Rachel Walensky and the WHO, this COVID-19 injection is not meant to stop infections nor to stop transmission of the virus. It is simply designed to prevent symptoms serious enough to land a person in the hospital. However, we've seen now in the last 8 months, over 26,000 deaths reported to the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System from this COVID-19 injection, as well as over 1.2 million adverse events, including hospitalizations, strokes, heart attacks, myocarditis, and many other ill effects from this injection. Additionally, it has not been shown to be effective in preventing COVID-19. These injections have caused tremendous harm to our communities, and there's no legal justification for mandating it on employees. It is completely unconstitutional and unethical. As regards item 79, which I'm also in strong opposition to, I urge you to look at halting or opposing the draft ordinance, Title 22 as it stands, and consider that amendments in Malibu and Sanitas and other towns have implemented better protocols to allow a proper public discourse and include the safety risks along with property value diminishment and the surveillance concerns that are present in this 5G rollout. In 2011, the World Health Organization classified wireless radiation as a possible human carcinogen. And in the National Toxicology Program, $30 million over a 10-year period, these studies conducted by the U.S. National Toxicology Program found clear evidence of cancer from exposure to wireless radiation. A study by the Ramazani Institute, funded in part by the U.S. government, found that exposure to wireless radiation from distant cell towers was associated with an increased risk of malignant heart tumors. There have been thousands of peer-reviewed studies which show adverse health impacts from wireless radiation exposure, including cancer, neurologic harm, abnormal brain development, and reproductive health problems. There are safe alternatives, including fiber optics, which need to be explored. And as a previous comment was made, there's more energy consumption.
Your time has expired.
Using 5G wireless.
May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we're going to go to the line of Michael Law. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and what you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Michael. I'm referring to, I guess, mostly number 80, but also some of 79. Just want to thank all the other speakers, people who have spoken in public comment. I guess just first off, the woman who mentioned, this is referring to 79 as well, but I think there's a larger issue at hand for the entire county of Los Angeles. I mean, we are the largest county in America, if I understand correctly. It's about 10 million people. And so they say as goes California, so goes the country. Well, as goes Los Angeles, I think technically so goes California. So for those who are on this call and who are listening, it's great that you're participating in the democratic process and that we're doing the best that we can, including our Board of Supervisors, so I want to thank them as well. There's a book that I just wanted to reference real quick by an author named Michael Youssef, and it's titled Hope for This Present Crisis. And it just briefly says, even though this book is not about the pandemic, the coronavirus crisis is a sobering reminder that our government, military might, economic power, and technological wizardry are all amazingly vulnerable to a submicroscopic organism. It is a virus so small it can only be seen with an electron microscope. Yet this invisible threat has shaken the foundations of human society and brought mighty corporations and governments to their knees. And he continues writing, but our God is sovereign and in control of world events. This virus did not take God by surprise. God is not wringing his hands and saying, what should I do? He controls every breath we take and every beat of our hearts.
Excuse me, your time has expired. May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, to go to the line of Miguel Galdes. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and what you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Good morning, members of the board. I'm going to be speaking on item number 80 and general public comment. I'm an employee of the County of Los Angeles and am subject to this mandate and request that you remove the County Code 1810 on the grounds that it does not improve public safety. Overall, I won't repeat what everyone else has already said. I concur with all their points. Please take into account the personal opinions and the space of all public employees before you vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, go to the line of Eric Blair. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today, and what you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Yes, hi, LA Board of Supervisors. I'm discussing Agenda 68, 79, and 80. So first regarding Title 22, Agenda 79, 80 for the wireless ordinance. This needs to be opposed because apparently this is going to allow, if approved, the setting up of 5G cell towers on people's private property and in front of their homes without public notice, without homeowners, residents, and landowners being able to be notified and give opposition to any setups of the 5G cell towers. Now, the WHO, the California Public Health Department, has previously stated that cell towers probably cause cancer. Many of us are going to investigate and are investigating how much money, if any, is flowing from the telecom industry to members of the Board of Supervisors and any other government officials that approve such ordinances. There will be lawsuits if these ordinances are passed. And also there are alternatives. Fiber optic cables can be used. Fiber optic cables provide much more bandwidth data. They do not have the hazards from fiber optic cables that you have with wireless 4G and 5G technology. So it makes no sense. The public has already paid billions of dollars in taxes to set up fiber optic cables. That technology needs to be continued to roll out instead of using the wireless technology with all its hazards. Now, the other agenda regarding firing LA employees who do not take the COVID-19 injections.
Excuse me,
that is
your time has
immoral.
expired. May we have the next
Thank you.
speaker, please?
Next, we'll go to the line of Michael Jean. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and what you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Hello, this is regarding Agenda 68, firing LA County employees. It's completely immoral and ethical. There's many studies showing the COVID-19 injections are not helpful, that they're actually hazardous, harmful to health. Attorney Tom Renz has multiple whistleblowers from the Department of Defense. Two of them are Lieutenant Colonel whistleblowers showing the DOD, Department of Defense data showing a huge uptick in serious diseases and death compared to the last 5 years. That showing that data compared to the data after the injections of COVID-19 vaccines coming out, huge increase in cancers, neurological diseases, miscarriages, many diseases going way up 300%, 1,000% increases after the injections coming out. The CDC's own vaccine adverse event reporting system from the CDC, that's showing huge uptick in diseases after the injections coming out. There was
Excuse
over
me,
30,000
your
deaths
time has
reported.
expired. May we have the next speaker, please?
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to the line of Marcia Kliev. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and what you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Your speaker here. Hi, I'm addressing item 79, the 5G, and item 80, the forced mandates on the employees. The 5G leaves no safe place for any of us to reside away from radiation in our homes and anywhere we go with our children. We don't want to be radiated in our sleep. We don't want our kids contracting all kinds of seemingly rare cancers. We know that even the firefighters, there is evidence on this. The firefighters have even had reports and stuff and had them removed. Now, as far as the clot shot being unsafe, there's no informed consent. You can't force something that already has more death than any other of these vaccines combined, death and adverse reactions. And I strongly oppose both of those. And as far as the plastics, I'd like anyone here to refer to the documentary Seaspiracy on Netflix. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we're going to go to the line of Carolyn Morris. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and what you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
I'm calling regarding 79 and 80, and I just want to say and make it real quick. Please oppose Title 22, Draft Wireless Ordinance, which was passed by the LA County Department of Regional Planning. LA County residents need a protective wireless ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, go to the line of Ernesto Diaz. Please state the regular agenda items you're addressing today and what you'll address on general public comment. You may begin.
Item 65 and general public comment. Ernesto Diaz, recently retired after 30 years with the Public Defender's Office. I am saddened, angry, and outraged. As such, I couldn't help my colleagues who have been overwhelmed for over 18 months with unconscionable caseloads at the Public Defender's Office. My worst fears described in my November 2nd, 2020 email to the office came to fruition. I spoke to a colleague. The person is becoming suicidal because of the high caseloads. The Daily Journal published a story on Tuesday, March 15th of this fact. It is shameful and outrageous that the director did nothing for days to provide resources for mental health. I have been told by colleagues they are not sleeping, they're having nightmares of being shot, death dreams of never coming to work, suffering from stress, anxiety, depression, working through lunch and weekends trying to keep up. They call their practice triage because they don't have enough time to adequately represent their clients. Lawyers have left the office, lawyers have gone on a stress leave, and I retired early. There are 4 important takeaways. The new $25 million case management system has not in any way helped with the spiraling caseloads. On the contrary, the caseload numbers reported by the system are inaccurate and undercounted. The current director only supervised 6 people in the past. Someone who knows how to fly a kite does not equate to somebody flying a plane. Lawyers are at risk or may have already committed IAC. Lastly, the exposure of liability to the county by the potential IAC lawsuits has increased exponentially. I'm asking the Board of Supervisors to step in and to avert further harm to the lawyers and to the clients. The union will be well within its right to ask for relief from the State Bar or from Superior Court for the director's ethical violation of the California State Bar guidelines on injury and defense. And I fully support item 65. Thank you very much.
We'd like to thank the members of the public who've called in today, and with the agreement of the members of the board, we're going to extend public comment for an additional 10 minutes to allow time to hear from speakers who are calling in specifically on public hearing items. Those are agenda items 79 and 80. So we're going to extend it for 10 minutes just to hear on public hearing items, and we're going to allow 1 minute each to allow as many speakers as possible to address the board, again on agenda items 79 and 80. So will you allow the first caller, please, on the public hearing agenda items? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go line of Ernesto Diaz. Please state the agenda item you're speaking, or the general comment you're speaking on today. Please go ahead. Looks like they're there. We're going to go to Julia Levine. Please state the general comment. Please go ahead.
Yes, I've been on the line since 9 a.m., and I want to speak to 77, 79, and general comment. I'm just letting you know that because I think the process is flawed. So on microplastics, I want to say that cell towers actually increase the amount of nanoparticles of microplastics in our environment. So those who are environmentalists should be concerned about that. In terms of 79, the hearing proposes to confirm a negative declaration under CEQA and finding of consistency. I totally oppose that. It's going to increase safety risks by impairing community resilience and emergency response capability. It's going to increase the likelihood of fires, and I urge you to hear from experts in this field, including Susan Foster, who works with the fire departments exclusively on this and has been a consultant to the city of Malibu in developing a protective ordinance. I encourage you to look at the fact that this ordinance does not meet CEQA requirements or authorize a negative declaration. This is something that needs to be considered.
Your time has expired. May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, we go to the line of Olga Hernandez. Please go ahead.
Oh, sure. Hi. I oppose 68, 80, and 79 and 22. That's all I have to say. Can you hear me?
Yes, please begin.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I oppose those. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, we go to the line of Sally Mason. Please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please begin.
Hi, thank you. I'm speaking on 68, 79, and 80. I'm opposed to anything that is requiring that county employees take the vaccines, which have not been shown to decrease transmission, have been shown to have many hazards and risks associated. In addition, for the 5G, please slow down passing the draft wireless ordinance Title 22 as it stands, and consider the amendments that Malibu and Encinitas and many other cities across the U.S. have been implementing in regulations on how close these small cell towers can be in our neighborhoods, to our neighborhoods and homes. Also, please oppose Title 22, the draft wireless ordinance passed by LA County Department of Regional Planning. The hearing will confirm a negative declaration under CEQA and a finding of consistency with the general plan safety element. In fact, the proposed project will greatly increase safety risk.
Excuse me, your time has expired. May we have the next speaker, please?
Thank you.
Next, we go to the line of Jody Nelson. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Jody Nelson from Californians for Safe Technology on item number 79. One use for this technology is for surveillance capability. Surveillance was paranoid thinking 20 years ago, and yet we now know the capability already exists using technology like microwave wireless devices and infrastructure like 4G and 5G, and the extent of usage from this surveillance is frightening. The fact that you might think that I'm saying is outlandish proves one point, that the marketing and PR playbook the industry uses works. They are betting that you will not look behind the curtain because that would reveal a fact. They are one of the biggest pushers of disinformation using techniques like manufactured doubt, astroturfing, lobbying, gaslighting, etc. Edward Bernays, a pioneer in modern PR propaganda, stated in 1920, those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. These techniques were made famous by the tobacco industry and updated using today's social media.
Your time has expired. May we have the next speaker, please?
Next, go to the line of Susan Foster. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Susan Foster. I'm speaking on item 79. I am a fire and utility consultant who assisted in writing both the Encinitas small cell ordinance and the Malibu ordinances. I'm urging you to take a discerning look at the telecommunications ordinances titles 16 and 22 and note that they lack critical engineering requirements that you have the right to demand. Telecommunications safety belongs to the locality to regulate. Our team in Malibu over the past 2 years discovered that 4 of California's major wildfires started as a result of telecommunications equipment. Even though your ordinance says that the applicable codes apply, Not all of the electrical and fire codes are indeed applicable. Under Title 22's ministerial permits, macro towers, one of the most significant of all cell tower fire risks, would basically be rubber stamped. Thus, you will have lost your ability
Your
to
time has
scrutinize
expired.
engineering designs.
May
Thank
we
you
have
so
the
much.
next speaker, please?
Next we'll go to the line of Elizabeth Raid Wainscoat. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Reed Wainscoat, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Center for Biological Diversity on agenda item number 79. The Center strongly supports the safety element update for the Los Angeles County General Plan. The Center commends the county for addressing the region's affordable housing crisis through upzoning urban infill areas while advancing strategies to reduce regional wildfire risk by setting clear development restrictions in wildfire hazard zones. Nearly all contemporary wildfires in California are caused by human sources such as power lines and electrical equipment. Continuing to develop in fire-prone areas without restrictions would only increase ignition risks and fire suppression costs. The safety element update would set a critical precedent that proves that safe and smart land use planning is possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next we'll go to the line of William Mirror. Please go ahead.
Hello, thank you. My name is William Muir. I'd like to provide some testimony on item number 79. First of all, I'd like to thank the county supervisors. It's great to have an entirely female crew there, so go girl, go. I did submit my statement online, but I'll read briefly. I strongly request that you reject the general plan safety element update and return it to the Department of Regional Planning to carefully review Goal S6 on Attachment 2 of the document regarding human-made hazards. Director Mark Pistrella is negligent in his department's findings that, quote, in the interest of public health, safety, and general welfare, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this project. Specifically, adoption of Title 16 and 22 regarding wireless facility ordinances deprives the public of their constitutional right to participate in the siting of small cell wireless facilities that directly negatively affect their health adjacent to their homes. It continues the densification of wireless communication systems that could be replaced with safer fiber optic networks. Hiding behind the county
Your
statement
time has expired. May we have the next speaker,
right,
please?
thank you.
Next we'll go to the line of Jose Rios. Please go ahead.
I'm calling in regards to number 80. And hello, my name is Jose Rios, and I've worked for Los Angeles County for 24 years. I'm also a member of the union with the Professional Police Officers Association. I want to express my only opposition to the Board of Supervisors adding Rule 18.10 to the county code. The sheriff, as an elected county officer, has wide authority to carry out his broad powers, duties, as expressed in the government code, the California Constitution, the county charter, and voter initiative. While the board does retain supervisory control over the sheriff, the board's supervisory role and budgetary power over the department does not enable them to control internal department personnel decisions granted to the sheriff as an elected county officer. Courts have held that a county board of supervisors is not authorized to govern the actions of a sheriff or district attorney concerning the matter in which their respective
Excuse me,
budget
your time has
are
expired.
expended in the manner which
May we have the next speaker, please?
Next we'll go to the line of Charlene Hopi. Please go ahead.
Please begin.
I oppose the wireless facility ordinance for Title 16 and Title 22. I ask that you place a pause because it does not provide the safety elements that you state. It will not improve our fire protection. It will not improve the 911 emergency response. And under the CEQA review, the negative declaration is inadequate because no one has any guidelines that says that RF radiation is safe. So that you making that statement under CEQA is not right. So just really don't give away the power right now. You can still do the ministerial review as it is. Take a little time, look at all the information that's been provided to you, and do a better ordinance. We do not want to give power to an industry. Industry does not take good care of our communities. We need you to monitor them to the best of your ability, not just give them a blank check to put up cell towers all over this county of Los Angeles. So please do your job, protect us, protect the county of LA. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our time for public speakers has ended, in addition to our extended 10 minutes for the public hearing item. So thank you to all that called in to speak. If you are unable to provide your comments, you may submit written comments as indicated on the agenda. We'll continue to accept all written comments that come in during the meeting, which will become part of the record. Executive Officer, please indicate the agenda item numbers on which we will be voting.
The following items are before you. Item 3 with Supervisor Kuehl referring back to her office, the appointments of Michelle Lilinski and Daniel Bruciano. 5, 8, 9 as revised, 10 through 20, 22, 24, and 25, 27. 28 with Supervisor Barger voting no. 30 as revised, 31, 33 through 35. 36 with Supervisor Barger voting no. 37 and 38, 40 through 53. 54 with Supervisor Hahn abstaining from the vote, 55 through 62, 65, 67, 68 with Supervisor Barger voting no, 69, 71 and 72, 73A, 73C with Supervisors Solis, Kuehl, and Mitchell voting no. Therefore, this item fails to carry for a lack of 3 votes. 73D and 73E, 76, 77 with Supervisor Barger voting no, 78, 1D through 7D, and 1P.
Moved by Supervisor Solis, seconded by Supervisor Hahn to approve these items with the exceptions noted by the Executive Officer. Executive Officer, please call the roll.
Supervisor Solis.
Aye.
Supervisor Solis, aye. Supervisor Kuehl.
Aye.
Supervisor Kuehl, aye. Supervisor Hahn.
Aye.
Supervisor Hahn, aye. Supervisor Barger.
Aye.
Supervisor Barger, aye. Supervisor Mitchell.
Aye.
Supervisor Mitchell, aye. Motion carries 5-0.
We'll begin with set matters 1 and 2, then proceed to items 4, 6, 7, 21, 23, items 63, 64, 73B, and finishing with public hearing items 79 and 80. We'll hear a presentation from Dr. Artanian Scorza, Executive Director of our Anti-Racism and Diversity Initiative, and Selwyn Hollins, Director of Internal Services. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Supervisors. Today's presentation marks the 8th update in our series of regular presentations on the county's progress implementing your board's American Rescue Plan Phase 1 spending plan. Next slide, please. As is our regular practice, this slide previews the topics we intend to cover today. I will address items 1 through 3, discussing opportunities for collective impact, updates on outreach efforts, and newly expanded capacity to expedite the project review and approval processes, as well as provide a global program overview detailing the current status of projects in the design, development, and approval process. Mr. Selwyn Hollins, Director of the Internal Services Department, will address items 4 and present on their Delete the Divide initiative. Next slide, please. So your board has charged county departments to collaborate across systems to integrate and coordinate our projects with existing resources. Specifically, your board's directors call for acting on our commitment to advance equity by implementing strategies to allocate funds fairly and transparently, including the spending plan where equity explicitly is a primary consideration, mandating both equity-based investments and supportive services that lead to an equitable recovery. Your directors call for the county to make available to the public data in a centralized dashboard and website reporting on contracting and grant opportunities, as well as program metrics and outcomes. Your board approved equity principles providing guidance that implores departments to work collaboratively and intentionally across programs, as well as across leadership levels and decision makers. And the ARC compliance and reporting guidance calls for a learning agenda and efforts to promote equitable access and distribution of funding opportunities, as well as available services and partnership with community members to build capacity, which will help us carry out programs. Next slide. With your board's direction and the federal guidance, RD works closely with departments to help meet your board's direction and that guidance during the project design process, where we ask departments to consider existing and enhanced services in order to promote coordination, collaboration, and alignment. By identifying intentional ways of working together and sharing information for the purpose of addressing the needs of our communities most impacted by the pandemic, we've aligned our efforts to achieve these goals, which is also known as a collective impact model. This framework is supported by several key elements, including shared goals, which provides a shared vision for change and includes a common understanding of the challenges we face, as well as a joint approach to solving it through agreed upon actions. Shared measures that promote accountability, which involves collecting data and measuring results that are consistent along with the indicators and metrics we use to determine whether or not we are achieving our intended outcomes. The type of backbone support that plays administrative role in support convening meetings, coordinating data collection, connecting departments with each other, etc. Providing support for mutually reinforcing activities which are aligned, directed, and shared towards making progress to achieve that common goal. And then consistent and open communication between participants so that we can stay informed and stay motivated over time. The goal of engaging in a collective impact model can be demonstrated through a very simple example. Your board approved a project for the Department of Children and Family Services, which will fund technical assistance providers who will provide support for their hotline workers. DCFS receives more than 200,000 calls to their hotline, and of the 200,000 calls, 75% or 150,000 of those calls involve neglect, where a small amount also involves domestic violence. However, what DCFS has found is that as the calls come in those 150,000, many of them do not qualify for or would be at risk of removal, nor should they be served by the department itself. What they have learned is that this presents an opportunity for coordination amongst departments by providing services and resources for those callers who call into their department who are not eligible for or able to receive DCFS's services. As a result, their efforts are aligned with and intended to achieve a collective impact effort whereby they are working to refer those callers to other departments where those services can be provided. Next slide. Often structural barriers can exist and impact the ability to minimize silos and prevent collective impact. So for example, when we lack vertical and horizontal communication across departments, it impedes opportunities for collaboration. When we also lack coordination, including a lack of awareness and cross-departmental collaboration, it hinders our ability to collaborate, create siloed activities and funding, and reduces efforts to bring departments working together on aligned projects. When we're unable to share data, including having established data agreements and or receiving permission from the people we're providing services to share their data across departments, it hinders our efforts to develop and sustain shared progress measures. And then finally, when we don't have the time, resources, and our backbone support or even staffing, often it's incredibly difficult to advance a collective impact model. Next slide. So what we've come to realize is that there are ways for us to move collective impact forward within the American Rescue Plan. There are both immediate and long-term strategies that we can take to mitigate existing structural barriers and support collective impact. Through the project design process, RD in partnership with ISD is working to map existing assets and available services. This initial step is essential in identifying overlapping resources in order to align them with the need of communities most impacted by the public, as well as to ensure that our neighbors know where and how to best access existing and emerging resources. We will continue to support departments through the project design process and encourage them to conduct joint planning meetings to leverage each other's capacity, align for program administration, and examine where service delivery can better target a community based upon the needs of those neighbors who are most impacted by the pandemic. Next slide. RD, in partnership with ISD, developed a service locator that maps several service categories ranging from parks and gardens to My Health LA community clinics. The goal of this service locator is to ensure that community members are aware of the services available to them under ARP, as well as any additional services provided by departments where there's data. We'll continue to build upon this service locator and strengthen the ability of community members to access this data so that they can better receive support through the American Rescue Plan Act services and opportunities. Next slide. In building out this service locator, we've been able to integrate our ARP projects map with existing county services to help identify existing resources, service gaps, and needs to support coordination so that we can turn the curve, which means that we want to shift a community from red to green, i.e. they are receiving the resources they need to thrive and do well. Specifically, as we continue to build out this project viewers and this map, you'll be able to see a visual representation of communities that have not only the need, but also the ways in which our projects align with and interact with existing community resources in those communities of need. Next slide. Now, as has been our custom, we always provide an update to your board on our efforts to build upon and strengthen the delivery of our programs and services based upon your directives and guidance. Already in partnership with the LA County Department of Economic Opportunity, plans to hold several outreach sessions which have already begun to gather feedback and inform communities of existing and future ARP-related programs and services, as well as contracting, subcontracting, and grant opportunities where they are available. It is important to note that eligible businesses, community-based organizations, and community members are informed of, have access to, and can apply for and receive opportunities to contract, subcontract, and receive grant opportunities. Working closely with the LA County Department of Economic Opportunity, these efforts will be part of a broader and ongoing strategy to reach small businesses and CBOs, as well as increase the uptake of and participation in programs and services that the county provides. As reported in our board memo submitted on April 1st, we plan to engage many of these partners in activities, including the local chambers of commerce, community-based organizations, existing coalitions and collaboratives, and offices of small businesses. Next slide. The county's external American Rescue Plan website has a page dedicated to posting ARP-related contract opportunities and solicitations. These solicitations and grant opportunities are added to the website as they are released and are updated every Tuesday and on an ongoing and rolling basis. Prospective applicants can sign up to receive updates about solicitations and contracting opportunities, as well as grants involving the American Rescue Plan or the Care First Community Investment Program using the interest form for potential vendors. A glossary of contracting definitions and terms are also linked to the page to increase people's understanding of our contracting language and processes. Next slide. In recognizing the urgency to meet the needs of communities most impacted by the pandemic, CEO partnered with Southern California grant makers to onboard at least 10 technical assistance providers to support departments with their project designs and with developing equity-centered ARP project designs that are consistent with federal and your board's equity requirements. The technical assistance providers will primarily conduct project design workshops, provide TA in applying equity funding formulas and the Equity Explorer, as well as aligning it with the compliance and reporting guidance, as well as provide an initial review of draft project designs and ongoing recommendations to strengthen the program. This support will help dramatically accelerate project approvals and ensure ongoing assistance for departments by augmenting their staff capacity and providing additional expertise in the writing, completion, and submission of their designs. Next slide. As of April 4th, 46 projects are in the design and development phase. Again, this entails a process to clarify the goals and outcomes of the project, their potential impact on reducing disparities caused and are exacerbated by the pandemic, and strategies to measure that impact. Now, while there are currently no projects under RD or County Council approval review, RD is working closely with departments on a pipeline of project designs. I'm actually happy to report that we're actively partnering and meeting with departments on 23 projects to support the design and equitable implementation of these programs. RD is currently reviewing 11 initial project design submissions, while 12 project design submissions are undergoing revisions by departments following an initial review. A total of 37 projects have been approved for launch and implementation. So it's important to note, while many projects are still in need of approval, there are quite a few that are in the pipeline, which are with the additional consulting support, shall accelerate their completion so that we can get them to approval as quickly as possible. Next slide. Next, Selwyn Hollins, Director of ISD, will highlight the department's Delete the Divide initiative. Our funds were used to support this initiative, launched by the board via motion in late 2020. As you're aware, this program seeks to unify efforts to provide youth and small businesses and high-need